Are you ready to look at cruelty for the sake of cruelty itself? Gratuitous violence in its most standard form. Do you want it? If so, then welcome to the island of giblets. This is the work of Masai Hakadzen, the author of a large number of trenches, including, by the way, A Good Pumpkin Night. Giblet Island has a sequel, Devil's Island. But because of the volume of the manga, I'm not sure yet if I'll be doing the truth in the near future. In general, if the first part comes in, then maybe. And so write in the comments if you need a continuation. And I'm going to retell, but before that I'll ask you to support my channel with a like and a subscription. Your activity really motivates me to meet deadlines and release videos every week. With thoughts, oh my god, and why our main character Alice climbs up the rocks, hoping to get out of the well. She doesn't understand what it all deserved, because she just came to this place for work. A voice comes from the belly of the well, from which Alice freezes. He asks Mom not to leave. This is a child with a pig mask on his head and a knife that chases the main character. He asks his mother not to leave him. Alice accelerates, repeating in tears that she is not the mother of this boy. Catching up with the girl, the child starts repeatedly sticking a knife into the heel of the fugitive. While she screams and cries in pain, he continues to call her mom. Her screams burst out of the well, reaching the city itself, but no one will come to help anyway. And here we are transported to the very beginning. In a swimsuit, Alice poses on the beach. The film crew announces that the first day of the photo shoot has successfully come to an end. I present our heroes. Alice, the main character, model, Ida, photographer, Suga, and manager. This island reminds them of going abroad. I had to get there first by plane, and then I had to go by boat for 3 days. There are no tourists here, so the island seems quite secluded. Their photographer Ida has recently purchased a house here, where the team will stay. The girl who combs Alice's hair, Suga, asks the model if she is worried about the fact that the chubby manager is always looking at the photographer Aida. She knows that our model likes the photographer and therefore warns that it is better to be careful in order to get out of this one. This trip did not come out a love scandal. Alice feels the eyes on her. A boy with a pig mask on his face is watching the newcomers from behind the bushes. The model turns around after her and everyone else. In front of them are children in frightening animal masks. The whole crew gets scared, and I even immediately grab the camera. After exchanging glances, the children turned around and ran away. While the others are thinking what it was like, the other child continues to follow Alice, rumor saying, Mom. Mom came home. The whole group went to the local village. Judging by the faces of the locals, their presence here is not very welcome. Ida notices that all this is strange. Previously, the locals were much friendlier. As they walk to the photographer's house, one of the locals, sitting on the roof, looks after them in surprise. He sees Alice and notices that the girl looks very much like his dear Marika. Upon reaching their destination, the film crew is shocked. Ada's house has been destroyed. Ida starts freaking out and kicking the remains of the roof with the words that he bought this house 5 years ago and was even thinking of moving here. Suga turns away and sees a large figure cutting meat. It smells delicious, but the girl is hungry. Alice notices that Suga has moved away, so she follows her. The second one turns to the person and says that it smells delicious and then asks what you are cooking, giblets. A girl's voice answers. The creature, similar to Nemesis, turns around, and we see a giant monster with sewn eyes, on whose neck a child is sitting with the lower part of his face hidden by a handkerchief. Seeing this creature, everyone gets scared. Suga starts screaming as the giant sticks a knife in her face. While everyone else is watching this picture in horror, the photographer happily uncovers the camera. Extras from the film crew take sticks and decide to attack. The giant does not receive any damage from their blows and therefore defiantly yawns. The girl who runs it commands to get rid of them as well. With one blow, the giant knocked them both down. Then with the words your mother, for the sake of such a frame, it's not a pity to die. The giant is surrounded by Ida, who starts photographing him from all sides. The manager grabs Alice by the hand and says that it's time to get off this island. After looking at Ida, who also got a kick, Alice bumped into the manager, who stopped when he saw in front of him those very children with animal masks who were carrying a barrel full of corpses. Alice screams, but a giant appears from behind and hits her on the head. The manager tries to escape, and the children go after him. The girl in the headscarf notices that Alice looks like her. The boy with the blue mask says it's Mom who finally came home. After a while, Alice comes to her senses. She, like the big guy who shouts, Marie, you deceived me. I deserved a reward, is in some kind of barn. The girl in the headscarf, her name is Marie, replies that she did not deceive the big guy. Removing the mask, exposing the disfigured lower part of her face, she kisses him. More precisely, she leans her teeth against his teeth. It's okay, they're actually the same age. A boy with a pig mask rolls out a mummy on a chair, dressed in monastic attire. He turns to Alice saying, "Mom, these are your things." After dropping the mummy on the floor, the child removes the rags from it and hands it to Alice with the words that she should put it on. Marie turns to her pig brother with the words, "Kaoru, you don't believe that this is our mother. She's too young to be one." The perverted girl leaves the room. Alice realizes that this is her chance to escape. Then, realizing that she can manipulate this boy, the model turns to Kaoru, saying that the dress is terrible and she can't wear it. Alice says that the child should obey because Mon doesn't like naughty boys. With manipulations, she overdid it. Korra begins to cry, proving that he is obedient because the disobedient go to hell. Then Alice calms him down with the words that he is a good boy and says, "Mom loves you." Then she offers to hug, but notices that she can't because of her tied hands. Taking his word for it, the coworker aunties the model, but instead of hugs, he gets a knee in the hole. Seeing that the big guy is not dangerous now, Alice goes to the exit, hoping in her mind that the others are still alive. The door led her not outside, but to a room with tanks filled with stinking giblets almost to the brim. Convincing himself that these are the insides of animals, the model looks closely and sees along with everything else someone's leg. The girl is sick. Kaorum appears from behind with a knife, asking why Mom kicked him, and is she running away because she's tired of her son again. Alice tries to convince him that she didn't run away, but it's just a game. But the pig's son no longer believes her, commanding her to run away because she made her son very angry. And now, if he catches up with her, he runs away. Alice immediately rushed to the leak. Kaoru followed, managing to slash at her with a knife. When he cuts the edge of her leg from the area just below the tendon to the heel, the girl falls right into the giblets. When she comes to the surface, she sees a human head. The model tries to get out, but Kaoru, standing at the top, punches his index finger with a nail with a knife. The boy says he was pleased when the mother is hurt. Catching him with 2 legs, Ellie throws the boy right into the tank. He asks for help because he allegedly can't stay afloat. Forgetting who is in front of her, Alice goes to help Kaoru. But in fact, the child was just bluffing. He quickly grabbed the model's hands, happily declaring that he had a trump card up his sleeve. Then, the pseudomom hits him with her head and tries to escape again. With the words, "You won't do it again. Don't leave me, Mom." A child with a pig's head rushed after him. Alice tries to get out of the pool, ignoring the pain from the cuts, and she succeeds. Kaoru is nearby. He immediately grabs her leg, but gets kicked in the face. Not wanting to waste any more time, Alice took a wooden bench and finally hit the boy on the head several times. I think she killed him. Having fallen into another shock, she slowly heads for the exit, thinking that she is not to blame. It was all self-defense. Having already gone outside, shielding her eyes from the strong sunlight with her hand, Alice sees the shadow of a man and recognizes him as a policeman. She asks him to stop, catches up and hugs him, saying that she was attacked. The model points to the room from which she just escaped and reports that there are whole pools filled with giblets inside. The cop promises that everything will be fine now, although the policeman himself is not trustworthy as a very qualified person. Then the policeman turns around and says that Alice is sweating like a pig and declares that she is suspicious. Saying that lying is a big sin, the man puts handcuffs on the girl. When the model tries to say something, the cop immediately slaps her in the face and then wrings her hands behind her back. Then it dawned on the girl. It seems that this man is not a policeman. In the following shots, almost exhausted with a noose around her neck, Alice slowly trudges behind the bike. Pseudo-law enforcement officer. Thinking that most likely this man killed a policeman and took his place, the girl began to laugh hysterically. Thrusting a rope into the thigh gap, Alice tries to seduce a non-policeman, asking her to hug. As soon as she shows a higao, the local already smoked. He forgets about the bike and immediately rushes to undress and paw her. Since they were in front of a steep descent from the mountain, she dodges him and kicks him so that the fake cop falls down. It landed right on the head, causing it to explode like a watermelon. Alice laughs hysterically again, saying that this is the way it should be. This garbage. But then someone forcefully pulled the rope, so much so that the model immediately turned blue all over. This is Maria, who caught up with them on a giant. He lifted the captive up. Kaoru comes out from behind him, saying that his mother was cruel to him. His head is shattered, his left eye has leaked out. Even a pork mask hides how traumatized he is. Then a hand appears from the cliff, with a broken head with brains out, and a policeman crawls out with his left eye sticking out too. Alice understands that these local creatures are not people. Korn, and as we now know, his father look at each other, starting to laugh because of how bad both look. The model loses consciousness. Marie offers to take her home to start preparing for her welcome party. The father of the family asks Marie if she likes his new image. Instead of answering, the girl notices that Kaoru really believes that this is his unknown mother. Let him be happy for now, and as soon as he gets it, they'll use Pig Boy to kill Alice. The model hears this, obviously, only pretending that she is unconscious. While the girl is being led back, she is trying to figure out how to escape. Alice hears familiar voices, and therefore opens her eyes. Then she sees a tree on which people are hanging in bags like fruits on an apple tree. Other children in animal masks poke them with sticks. Kaoru turns to the mother, offering to take a bath together. At first, Alice refuses, but when she sees the looks of the others, she remembers that if the boy guesses that she is not his mother, she will be killed, and therefore agrees. Marie shouts to the other children at the tree to prepare the bathroom. Then, they lower a bag with one person from the tree. The father of the family smiles, saying that he can't wait to take a live bath. A little later, Alice undresses, unable to stop thinking about this very bath. Kaoru and Mari are already ready. Taking his hand, the model goes outside and sees a large tank with ordinary hot water. She is glad that she was on the most ordinary hot spring. Kaoru comes up to her and asks if mom likes it. Instead of answering, the girl froze when she saw some movement begin under the pig mask. The child's head has recovered. The same thing happened with her father, and then with the trauma of Alice herself. Marie explains that this is due to the power of their magic stones, which heat the water, rejuvenate, and give them eternal life. The model understands that she also wants to seize this power and always remain young and immortal. Her joy is interrupted by screams. Children with animal masks dragged a bag with a man. Alice recognizes what's inside Suga by her voice. She is dragged to the giant meat grinder machine. Marie says that stones alone are not enough for eternal life. They also need human nourishment. Sugu is trying to drag a meat grinder. Father and Core stand under the drain pipe, waiting for it to finally rain minced meat. Suga starts twitching and hits one of the children in the face, and he falls down. The mask falls off the head of the child, who was hit by the blow. We see an ugly child with disfigured skin and 3 eyes, one of which is in the center of the forehead. Dad and Karo froze, waiting for what was going to happen. Tentacles begin to appear from the face of an ugly child, or this appearance scares away. Marie explains that this is a side effect of the stones, and he adds that since the child was left without a mask, nothing will stop him. Suga, meanwhile, manages to take off the bag. Seeing a mutant in front of her, who is violently waving tentacles, she begins to cry in horror. While the others are shouting, "Kill her," Alice runs out of the water. The child begins to pierce the model's friend with his tails from the head, but at the same time she is still alive. Taking advantage of the moment, Alice hits the child on the head from behind, causing him to fall. This action impresses Marie. It seems that the stones not only healed, but also gave her strength. Continuing to lie down, the child attacked the tentacles from behind. He gets up and goes to the model, but then Kaoru comes to the rescue, who pushes the mutant away from his mother with a kick. Then he stands between them, protecting Alice. Then the mutant attacks the pig's son, but falls into the father of the family, who also decided to take part in the brawl. All 3 of them start fighting. Father catches tentacles. Kaoru bites into the mutant's arm. Then they both get new holes from a dozen different spikes that have escaped from the tentacles. The mutant begins to whip them with spiked tentacles, causing serious injuries. Then suddenly Alice starts screaming, "Please stop, don't touch Kaoru." Suga hears this, asking what you just said, and then adds that these damn monsters aren't her friends. Then the giant Marie shut her up, crushing her head with his foot. The tentacles of the child are retracted back into the head. He becomes calm again. Marie explains that it's because someone has finally died. The mutant is again put on a goat mask on his head. The giant picks up the remains of Suga and throws the meat grinder. A bloody fountain immediately gushed out of the pipe, watering Father and Kaoru. The model also notices that Suga's death didn't even upset her. Looking at Kaoru, Alice feels incredibly happy that this boy is alive and well. Marie holds out her hand to the model and says that a welcome party will begin soon, where fine cuisine will be waiting for her. Alice has been seated at the table. Everyone is preparing for the pen. The captive looks at the child and thinks that if he stops considering her as his mother, she will surely be killed, and therefore, she intends to eat everything that is served to her. Surprisingly, the smell from the kitchen is quite pleasant. This makes the model's stomach growl. You hear all this, and so you start to laugh. Alice gets her portion first. While everyone is watching her in surprise, the model begins to eat. The islanders are impressed, discussing what kind of good cuisine they have after all. By continuing to devouring the food, Alice does the following. "I'll never be your mother. I am a highly paid model who got here by mistake. Others are tired of waiting for their portion. The father shouts to bring him larvae with raw and live ones. Then Alice stops, trying to figure out what she's eating right now. Marie runs into the kitchen with giant earthworms for her father and for Kaoru. Upon learning that she has just eaten a worm, the model immediately begins to throw up. The others are offended by such a gesture. The father of the family approaches the girl, grabs her head, and begins to lower it into a plate, with an order that she quickly devour everything. First, he says that it devalues his work as a producer, and then says that Marika, a runaway wife, was the same. Kaoru, seeing that his fake mother is about to be killed, folds his hands and begins to pray. He reminds his father that it's always easy to catch even more worms. My father beamed, realizing that it was really always possible to just catch more worms. However, in order for him not to kill the model, she must understand what hard work it is, and therefore she will also have to catch one whom he wants to help. But Marie says that even 3 fishermen find it difficult. Then at night, the whole family, along with Alice, went outside. Kovaru pulls her by the sleeve and encourages her, saying that the girl will cope. She doesn't understand why everyone is so alarmed about it, but then she sees a giant worm crawling past. The father unties the ropes and hands her a net with the words "catch before you sneak away." The girl runs after the worm and throws a rope on it. He accelerates and drags her away. Along the way, the mutant bangs his head on a rock and stops. Alice begins to sincerely rejoice that her hunt was successful. She turns to the others, but they only laugh at her glee. At this time, the worm lifts the back of its body and pours some liquid over it. The model's body immediately begins to swell, becoming covered with bumps. Dad sarcastically remarks that this is the end. While Ellie is writhing in pain, Kaoru runs up and calls her mom in tears. The father warns not to touch the girl, because if you touch the wet rayad, your hands will fall off. Instead, he offers the pig son to join the family and finish off the worm. Thinking that she will always be young and beautiful, not wanting to die from the worm's urine, Alice opens her eyes and sees the rain dripping from above. She was lucky, the swelling is starting to subside. Coral turns around and sees that his mother is not there. With the last of her strength, the model began to crawl, wanting to escape from the family. As she continues to crawl, she crosses some eye-like stones hanging between the trees. The family is on the trail. Marie is trying to understand why the stones missed the girl. Because the barrier seems to let only those who have fallen to the dark side through. A family heading for the barrier is not going. It's too dangerous in that part of the forest. But Nickoger, the boy, intends to go and save his mother. He immediately runs over the rocks, which is why the rest of the family followed. Alice, meanwhile, continues slowly. There she meets a giant ladybug, followed by giant rabbits and a giant something, a pig with human hands. A short man who appeared behind me, I will call him the mayor, says that this creature used to be a man. Kaoru's cry is heard in the distance behind him, who still continues to search for the imaginary mother. Shorty knows the boy in the pig mask and then tells the giant creature to go and say hello to the family. The rest of the mutant family catches up with Kaoru, and the father closes their mouths, saying that it is dangerous in this forest, since monsters live here and it is better not to attract their attention. Marie calls her father names, reminding him that it was he who created all these creatures. We see frames with a flashback in which the father, having learned that earthworms began to grow because of magic stones, began to pour them into animal feed. When they began to change their size, he first tried to control them, but then abandoned them in the forest. In the present, the girl scolds her father for not having learned anything, reminding also that it was he who spoiled her Meacher. This is the same giant. They recall how the girl played with him when Mishiru was still like an ordinary child. The father declares that he decided to simply improve the boy for his daughter. While they are arguing, a creature approaches. Kaoru says, "Dad, look, it's Mishiru's father." And then we see the pig man. While the father is surprised by the size of the pig man, Marie angrily asks what exactly he did with this creature. In general, the head of the family mixed pork with magic stones and fed the guests. Marie, hearing the truth, is angry and she, calling him a bastard, kicks him on tomatoes. While she smothers his father, Spinocellular learns the head of the family, calling it either by name or by the name of Yoshikazu. In general, that's what I'm going to call him. Enraged, the creature rushed in pursuit of the family. At first, they were running away, dodging all the attacks. But then Kaoru let go of his father's hand and went to look for his mother. Realizing that it is impossible to abandon his son, Yoshikazu offers his daughter to kick his son's ass. While they are fighting, the short mayor helps Alice to move on. First, the model says, "Is it possible to trust a new friend?" But then sees Meet the manager comes out. Delighted with a familiar face, Alice runs to him, but then sees that something is wrong with the man. His right hand is missing. He himself seems to have lost his mind. He grabs his head and starts screaming. Alice tries to calm him down. Shorty says he's already found him in this condition. He must have seen something really terrible, said a new acquaintance. Then this person confesses that everyone here lives in fear of these devils from the island that people live, and only the chosen one can rise up and defeat them. Alice doesn't quite understand what this person is talking about, so she takes the manager by the arm and begins to lead him away. In her mind, she thinks only that she wants to get off this island as soon as possible, and as far away from this family as possible. But then she stops, pressing a hand to his chest where pounding hard. It was only necessary to remember Kaoru. Alice realizes that she can't just leave the boy. She hears the voice of a child in a pig mask calling her. Her face changes and Shorty notices it. She is brought to her senses by the manager, who, clutching his head, begins to scream. Nora offers to follow him, and, seeing that the model hesitates, asks, "You're not attached to this island, are you?" Helping the manager up, Alice follows the new acquaintance. On the way, she turns around to look at the pig boy, hearing him calling his mother. As they walk, Shorty reflects on how this girl got into this part of the forest in the first place. Everything would be fine, but human beings can't get here. In addition, he is interested in why the model is always so contorted with pain. New faces are coming to the meeting. These are also islanders who, along with Shorty, consider themselves rebels and dream of ridding the island of the cursed mutant family. Kaoru keeps calling for Mom. Yoshikazu approaches him, who, after a fight with a pig man, has his brains out again. While he is bragging that the opponent was strong, Marie flies by. The family turns around and sees that there are even more monsters. Cora recognizes all of them as familiar residents of the island. Grabbing the children, the father of the family ran away. The Postons turned to the source of the noise, seeing how the hated family was running away. Shorty again pays attention to the model, thinking that this woman can be useful. The rebels led Alice and the manager to a dried-up well, explaining that this tunnel leads out. Seeing the magic stones, Alice rejoices, thinking that thanks to them, she will be able to live forever, while remaining young. Grandfather again draws attention to how fascinated she is with this subject. Everyone is coming down. Taking the manager's arm, Alice followed, continuing to think with a face full of determination that she would not die in this place. And upstairs, her Shikazu teases giant creatures. When the agitation worked, and everyone rushed at him, the magic barrier immediately worked, destroying the monsters. Meanwhile, the islanders brought the survivors to the water. Alice is happy to see the sea and the city in the distance. The cave has many exits, but the mayor specifically brought her here. He is interested in what choice the girl will make. Alice hears frightening sounds and raises her head up. Just above the slope rises a tree on which people are hanging in bags. The mayor confirms her guess that this is a film crew and asks what she will do, whether she will help them escape from the island or run away herself. The model replies that she is going to save everyone. She herself thinks that she cannot leave them because if she returns alone, the media will not leave her alone, and this could ruin her career. Hearing, she says that she can't leave alone and asks for help to save everyone. In her thoughts, she also flashes a magic stone. Suddenly the manager comes to his senses. He runs to her, asking her to stop this madness. She shouldn't risk herself for the others, and she needs to leave this matter to the police. The mayor doesn't like that the manager came to his senses so quickly. Alice replies that they can't just leave the others here. We are now a little bit in the dialogues reveal the nature of the stones. When they were first found, the magic stones seemed harmless. But after that, one was found that surpassed the others in size and strength. And when people let this power into their body, it turned them into monsters. After finishing the explanation, the mayor notices that his rebels are very friendly to Alice. He is surprised that only the model to save everyone touched the islanders, and even the manager got his spirit back from it. He admits that there is something in the girl. Arriving at the place, they do not meet opponents. Then Alice rushes to help her friends, and all the islanders follow her. The mayor tries to stop them, sensing some kind of trick, but the others are no longer listening to him. They have already begun to bring down all the prisoners. Having lowered the person, and disappointed that it's not Ida, the model hears the question, "Why did you come back?" It's a trap. One of the bags begins to tear because of the spikes that have escaped. Covered with big eyes, the mutated Ida appears before the rebels. One of the captives reports that Ida made a deal with the monsters, becoming a slave in exchange for life. The photographer himself easily attacks others with his tentacles. We get a short flashback. When Yoshikazu saw Aida, he was impressed by how much the photographer looked like himself. The prisoner replied that he would do whatever he was asked if he was allowed to live. Will even kill the other. After all, it's too early for him to die. His selfishness disposes the family. While the mutant kills the rebels, Alice thinks that Ida has always been like this. He was always ready to go for what seemed to him beautiful. The mayor thinks that he needs to retreat, but the giant Masheru suddenly appears in front of him. Shorty manages to dodge the blow, but the manager does not. His eyes immediately fly out of their sockets, and blood flows from his ears, and he falls to the ground. However, he immediately gets up, turns around, and asks why everything is so dark and what happened. The mayor himself is immediately surrounded by armed children with animal masks on their heads. The main devilish family of the island comes out, thanking everyone else for their work. Yoshikazu greets the mayor, calling him by the name of Hanakura. The little man in response asks what he is doing at all. You've collected giblets from all over the island. What's your plan anyway? The mayor asks. The father of the family replies, Black magic, I will become a great sorcerer. Alice hears the conversation and thinks, oh, if only she had such power. Suddenly she feels someone's touch, turns around and sees Kaoru, who came up from behind and hugged his fake mom. He cries, saying, Mom, I finally found you. Alice is also happy to meet, not shy to show her feelings. Immediately, Ashikazu approaches his son, takes her in his arms, and is led away by the words that this woman betrayed them. And now she will become a victim. It's time for a bacchanal. Having tied everyone up and brought them to the tanks with Awful, wearing a black robe and armed with a giant magic stone, Yoshikazu raised it over his head. Starting to recite a spell, Ida approached one of the prisoners, picked him up by the hair, and swung a cleaver, separating the head from the body with one blow. The rest of those present fall into shock or into anger. Yoshikazu begins to swear at the slave, saying that the giblets should be alive. Ida begins to choose the next victim, as that voice gives an extra, asking Ida to stop. Then, the former photographer attacks him, releasing his insides. The rest are sick. Ida himself is happy about how great he is doing. The father of the mutated family is satisfied. The magic stone begins to glow. A funnel appears in the pool, setting the giblets in motion. Combining into one mass, they turn into a giant shapeless something, but then suddenly crumbles back. Yoshikazu understands that this is because there are not enough victims. The father turns his gaze to Aida and sees that Alice has stood in front of him, boring him with an evil look. The model says that the photographer has always been like this, running away from serious problems, and then accuses him that Aida abandoned her and her child. We get a short flashback of Alice and Ida. The model asks the photographer to describe their relationship and says that she is pregnant. Ida replies that children are a problem and they can interfere with his self-realization, after which he insists that the girl should get rid of the child. In the present, the mayor understands that something has happened between these two. Then suddenly the manager moves forward. At first, the poor guy with his eyes out says that she got rid of the child so easily that even he didn't notice it. And then turns to screaming, calling Alice just a product. You're just a girl who will give herself to the first buyer, the manager shouts. Continuing to call her names, the manager says that she can't just forget about the baby. Yoshikazu is surprised by the sins of the newcomers, saying that he himself would never forgive the murder of the child. Marie realizes that there is darkness out there, and most likely that's why the magic stones led her into the forest earlier. She also comes to the conclusion that this is why the model has a sense of humor. She replaces the lost child with them. Then the sister notices that Kaoru is not around. The son's boy decided to cross the tank through the beam to help his mom, and shouts, My mom is not a sacrifice. Alice herself, throwing back her head, begins to cry, saying that she could not forget about her child. The manager insists that's exactly what she did. Meanwhile, Adi got tired of listening, and he took up the next victim. The stone shone again. The creature from the pool began to take shape again. Then, when Kaoru was still crossing the tank, the model screams the boy's name, worrying about him. The mayor says the family called the devil. The creature from the tank immediately attacked Kaoru. The boy tries to escape. Marie demands that her father stop all this. But Ida, who has entered into the taste, no longer stops. And as long as he continues to kill, the devil will not disappear. A mixer appears, who offers Marie her help. When the creature was about to attack Core, entering the pool, the mixer begins to beat the monster. While everyone is in shock that a mutant can resist the devil, the giblets begin to envelop the giant. A mouth appears, which bites off the legs on the ointment and then absorbs the rest of the body. The mayor shouts to the father of the mutant family to stop all this because now both of his children will simply be devoured. Then he sees that Yoshikazu himself is looking at the stone in confusion. Alice at this time comes to understand that all this bacchanalia will not stop if Aida is not stopped. The devil is about to eat Mari and Kaoru. Wanting to save the children, the girl frees her hands from the ropes, takes the stone in her hands, and goes to the photographer. Other children appear in animal masks. They poured into the pool of gasoline and ignited what is now the devil. Impressed by their ingenuity, Alice goes to Ida with a stone, but he pierces her back with one of his tentacles, saying that she should not dare to interfere. At the same time, he admits that he does all this of his own free will. Ida calls these murders art, which he has been looking for all his life. Meanwhile, the flame went out. The devil hasn't gone anywhere. On the contrary, he rebelled, hovering over the others and attacking other children in animal masks, leaving only their heads or hands. Marie attracts the creature's attention by shouting that she will never forgive him. The mayor giggles, realizing that because of the stupidity of the father of the family, now they will all simply be devoured. But suddenly the devil disappeared. Those present look around to understand what happened and see Aida, who has become similar. At the mummy and Alice, whose appearance has also been transformed. Through the whip that the photographer stuck in the girl's back, she sucked all the magic out of him. The blind manager starts asking where Alice is, suggesting that she just give up on everything and return to Tokyo. He promises that he will make a real selling idol out of her. The girl refuses, saying that she does not need human help. She looks at the manager, whose head suddenly began to swell until it exploded. Yoshikazu came up from behind with a rock and hit her. The model lost consciousness. The father of the family says that she is half, but she is still a person, and he had to do it while her body was still there. Not completely captured. Kaoru comes over and asks what's wrong with mom. Yoshikazu replies that she has almost turned into the devil. Marie approaches them, saying that then an exorcism should be performed. They will pour holy water on her and harm her in order to weaken the devil and force her to sign a contract. The daughter intends to use him forever as her slave and will make her regret that she ate her relatives. Taking Alice, 7 leaves. The mayor is tense, thinking about what a person like Yoshikazu will ask the devil. While Alice is being carried away, Cora looks at her with sadness in her eyes, calling her mom. Later, Alice comes along like the church. The first thing she sees is a crucifixion. The next chapter is devoted to how the exorcism was performed. In short, Alice was beaten on the face and other limbs with hammers and cut with a chainsaw. Each time, her body was instantly restored. Cora did not participate in this, only watching from the doorway. Then Yoshikazu admits that he was carried away by this crazy idea and had already completely forgotten that they were conducting an exorcism here. He himself thought that the devil would come out if he hurt the carrier very much. Mary hands him the Bible. The Holy Scripture makes him feel bad himself. Then the family takes up the tools again. Kaoru repeats that mom is obsessed. Then the father calls the boy to join the exorcism party. The pigson takes his knife and begins to inflict one wound after another. Outside, the rebels are watching all this. The mayor says the devil is hiding inside Alice for a reason. And the more pain you cause the bearer, the better the devil. Suddenly, Alice's chains break. She got up herself. The mayor notices that she is now completely under his control. The devil in the girl's body thanks those present. Marie says that exorcising the devil in this way will no longer work. The father began to leave somewhere. Suddenly, he soared into the air, and an invisible force began to circle him, so that the insides began to come out through his mouth and nose. Releasing him, the creature in Ollie's body laughed. Then Marie rushed at her with hammers, but suddenly she also froze in the air. The devil began to circle the girl in the same way, and then forcefully put her head on the table. The possessed Alice starts laughing, as Kaoru appears from behind with the words, "Leave my mother." He's going to attack, but his legs are shaking from fear. The possessed woman held out her hand in front of him with the words Rasha, like the wind. But suddenly her strength had gone somewhere. Looking out, Alice shouts that she won't let anyone touch this boy. With the words, "This is my body, so get out." The model scratches her other eye. Nora continues to observe, noting in shock that the girl's maternal instinct turned out to be stronger than obsession. Alice herself rejoices that she managed to get rid of the devil. The model opens her arms in front of the boy to hug him, but instead hears, "Get out." Svinison attacks the girl again with a knife, piercing her hand. He does not believe that mom got rid of the obsession, and therefore attacks again. Alice tries to run away, mentally telling herself why he doesn't stop. "I thought he was cute. Is he really a monster after all?" The islanders don't understand either. The number notices that the newly inflicted wound on her arm has instantly healed. It can only mean one thing: Alice is still possessed. Kaoru keeps up with the one he calls his mother, continuing to strip. Unable to bear the pain, Alice shouts, "Why don't you just leave me alone?" Kaoru stops. There is a loud sound, and the ground opened up under his feet. He starts falling down. Alice shouts his name loudly. She can't believe her eyes that this has happened at all. Then the mayor says out loud, "He fell into the ground because it was you who wanted it." The devil inside reacted to her desire. Now that Cora has fallen, she has become completely possessed again. But suddenly her face becomes normal again. A hand grabbed her leg. This is Kaoru hanging over the abyss, who, shouting "Get out of my mom," started wielding a knife again. The rest of the mutant family also began to recover, stuffing their organs back through their mouths. Taking the gun, they are going to help Kaoru. But then Alice falls into the pit with Kaoru. Marie is going to jump after him. Ashikazu won't let her. Another moment, and the hole closed. Noting that this is karma, the mayor commands all surviving rebels to go and check all the wells. They themselves intend to perform an exorcism and kill the devil. Alice is alive. She fell into the water at the bottom of the cave. As she continues to swim, she sees that her wounds have completely healed, and she begins to wonder if she is still possessed after all. Then she begins to dream about what would happen if she had not only magic stones. From the pink picture of immortality and eternal youth, she is torn off by the voice of the Kaoru, which flirts after her. Seeing him, Alice gets scared. Seinen calms her with the words that now he will kill the devil. Alice tries to swim away after Kaoru. Along the way, she says that the boy is very wrong and she is not his fucking mother. From these words, Kaoru freezes, staying in place. We are transported to the frames from the beginning of the manga. With thoughts of why this is happening to me, Alice crawls up the cave. Following her is a boy with a pig mask. At first, she promises herself that she will escape from this island, but then she stops for a second, remembering what a lonely face Korra had. But then Korra himself appears on the horizon, who, screaming mom, crawls up or starts moving again, shouting in response that the boy is wrong and she is not his mother. Then, with the words get out, the devil begins to cut her leg with a knife. Then his hand seems to explode, the knife falls down. Alice looks at him, grinning with a demonic face. The devil rejoices that he was able to regain control. Standing on a vertical surface, the possessed easily gets out to the top. But he immediately gets a cross in his face. Outside, the mayor was waiting for her, who immediately began a real exorcism, reading aloud Our Father. The essence leaves Alice's body, turning into Lovecraftian shapeless something. The bodies of the rebels immediately begin to distort, mutating into something incomprehensible. Either this aura of the devil changes their bodies, or it's God's punishment. Suddenly, the creature lowers its eye and asks, "What is your wish?" "This is your reward, the one who has seen my real form." Without a second's hesitation, Alice immediately begins to shout that she wants eternal youth and beauty. However, Korra immediately shouts, "My mother, give me back my mother. I want my mom back." The devil's hand reaches out to Kaoru with the words, "Your wish has reached my ears." Epilogue, we see Alice sitting on the shore with a detached look. She wonders how much time has passed. No matter how hard she tries, she can't remember where she used to live and who she was. But she feels good nonetheless. Alice looks down and sees Kaoru, who is lying on her tentacle, on the one that replaced her lower body. The girl looks at Kaoru, thinking that it is he who makes her happy. All she wants is to sit here forever with her baby. Other islanders, former rebels, follow her, noting that such a transformation is a punishment for the murder of an unborn child. Suddenly, they notice Marie running along the shore, joyfully calling her brother. She reports the news. Mom's coming back. Korra begins to cry joyfully. His real mom is sailing back. The devil granted his wish. Alice is shocked because she is his real mother. But the boy doesn't care. Together with his sister, he immediately ran to meet his mother. Left alone, Alice says, "Run." She goes on shouting, continuing, "Run, Kaoru, run." A ship arrives to the island, in which the whole family meets. Kaoru throws herself into her mother's arms. "I'm so happy. I'm so happy for you, Kaoru." Alice shouts in tears. This place is really hell on earth. Finally, the mayor says, "The end." What was that? I stumbled upon this manga by chance, looking for trash on the island after Ingashima. By the way, don't read this one, it turns into a regular gangbang pretty quickly. Which is a shame, because mangaka is a student of the artist Fist of the North Star. As for the island, as I said, thrash for thrash's sake, cruelty for cruelty's sake. There are some images that can be mistaken for an attempt to convey some idea, but in fact there is nothing behind them. In other words, there is something ephemeral, but that cannot be formed into a message in any way, due to the fact that the author simply did not form it. So treat her accordingly. I know perfectly well what you want, or have already written in the comments. Throughout the retelling, you were definitely infuriated as the main character stormed between "I have to escape from here, but what about me?" I love Kaoru. The main highlight of the character, which was supposed to reveal it, played against the author. This behavior is in her situation, can be logical. A woman got rid of her child, buried her memories, but suddenly begins to feel parental feelings. For someone who sincerely wants her to be his mother, that's just in order for the car to go, it needs to be filled with fuel. And the author either intentionally did not do this, or decided that peeing in the gas tank would be more than enough. However, nothing went. And instead of seeing a person with inner feelings because of the oppressive past, who begins to see his unborn in a mutant child, we get some kind of bipolar, where a woman is thrown between extremes. I need to get away from these crazy people, to whom I can't leave this child, or I'm so happy that he's safe. And the problem here is precisely that this part of her background is presented as if after the fact. But this author has not created a logical chain for readers, which would lead to the fact that her behavior is logical. At least the background in advance, at least provocative images, thoughts, understatement, at least something. Because of which the change. The relationship to the so would be filled with meaning. Alice's greed turned against her. Dreaming of remaining young and beautiful forever, she became part of a mutated court, who is taking a rejuvenating bath, although it is unknown what attitude the others will have towards her now. The selfish little bastard, who so desperately wanted Mom, eventually got what he wanted. He most likely initially understood that Alice was not his parent, and easily abandoned her when, instead of a pathetic parody, she received registration. In general, we can say that I like the ending. There is one point that confuses me. I may be wrong, because I don't know Japanese, but it seems like they have quite specific pronouns. And here in the room translation, we see that the devil turns with the intention to fulfill the desire specifically of Alice, the one who saw my true form. However, Culver already promises to fulfill this very desire. And as a result, the main character was punished. And such a drastic change is not completely clear to me. Alice will remain in this form forever, unable to die. But if, as the mayor said, it is still a punishment, then why was this pathetic speech about the true function at all? At the same time, I was incredibly embarrassed by the drawing all this time. And the point here is specifically in the backdrops on some frames. Just see for yourself what it is. You just made a bunch of real photos, threw filters on them, and drew characters on top with a white glow. It's just that a 2D drawing in my eyes does not fit with the processing in any way. Yes, I know that different mangakas use photos or 3D, but nevertheless it can be very painful to look at it. What is the result? I like the Island of Giblets. This is a full-fledged treasure with an off-scale level of violence. Unfortunately, it is impossible to treat this story in any other way. In the manga, children, or the killer instinct make much more sense. There's just an endless cycle of tinplate in the style of classic slasher stories. However, it's definitely not Masai's best work. The manga, by the way, has another sequel. I talked about this at the very beginning of Devil's Island. The second part is already much more voluminous, about 24 volumes. Although, as far as I know, the translation of the series has been abandoned. It seems like everything is still much worse there, and also much more boring. And I will be glad if you share, I would like to see the second part, or not. And also share how you like the whole Island of Giblets, like the manga or not. It will be very interesting to find out. And I will also be grateful for your likes and subscriptions. And that's it for today. I love everyone, and bye to everyone.